Hi, everybody. My name is Alyssa Robinson, and you are tuned in to Go Beyond. Go Beyond is an opportunity to dig deeper into the message that we heard on Sunday. And so on Mondays, we unpack the scripture and we learn a little bit about the history, the context behind it. On Wednesdays, we challenge it. And on Fridays, we learn a spiritual practice associated with the scripture that we're covering. So I am here with Reverend Daniel Humbert, our senior pastor, and he is going to walk us through the spiritual practice of servant ministry, which is also one of the core values of our church. So pay attention and remember that you can sign up for our summer missions at tmumc.org/summer missions. But Daniel's going to walk us through a few different ways to think about serving today. So go for it, Daniel.
Thanks, Alyssa. So as she already pointed out, of course, one of our core values is servant ministry. So it's a basis point for us as a congregation. And then, of course, it's highly related to the Acts chapter 6, from which Doug preached this past Sunday, where the early church discovered not only how important it was to serve, but how important it was to find your particular specialty, if you will, in serving. And so a part of what they discovered in that early church was, some were called to preach and to lead, and some were called to serve by offering service, hospitality, food to widows, orphans, things of that nature. And so the early church was really good about recognizing how important service was and serving in our own specific capacity. So I reckon that the reason we serve is, number one, because of course Jesus served, and his whole ministry was about serving others. And he literally said to us, the Son of Man has come not to be served, but to serve. And then he gave lots of examples. In John chapter 13, he washes the disciples' feet as an example of what service looks like. And he couched it in the language of love and identified this is how we ought to love. He likewise told several parables, not the least of which is the parable of the Good Samaritan, that identifies stopping and helping and serving somebody in need, whether we know them or not, whether we understand them or not. So Jesus was a great teacher about this and a demonstrator of it. And so that's an important component. And then I reckon another reason we serve is to live into the humility of following Jesus. And the spiritual practice of serving is one of our core 7 at Trietsch. We identify 7 core spiritual practices, and serving is one of those. And I believe, again, a part of that is how it's important because it helps identify how to be humble and how to recognize that the world and life is not all about us. And so that's a great reason for us to be able to serve. So once again, I'm going to invite us to look at a posting from the Spiritual Disciplines Handbook by Adele Calhoun, because there she identifies for us some great ideas that actually may not be what you're thinking with regard to service. I mean, obviously, we can serve by feeding the hungry and clothing the naked and bringing water to the thirsty, but we can also serve in some other capacities that we may not normally think of, and that's what I want to highlight on this one. So if you are able to pull that up, what I love about this is they're very practical. So this first gives a quote from Martin Luther King, which I love, that just says, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Martin Luther King Jr., of course, knew well how to serve and how to love. And so a great example, and I love that concept. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. But as you scroll up just a little bit, you notice there are some ways to live into a spiritual practice of serving. And again, the most common way is, golly, get connected with a food pantry or get connected with an organization that brings water to the thirsty or what have you. But I'm going to focus on numbers 1 and 3 because I find them kind of fascinating, because they are directly related to every person, and they're directly related to how we can be in service in our everyday life. So notice number 1, it just says, hey, every morning for the next 2 weeks, ask your spouse or your roommate or a work colleague, just somebody that you have a relationship with, hey, what can I do for you today? And then do it. literally serve them somehow, some way. I mean, it could be literally as simple as bringing them a cup of coffee, or it could be as powerful as helping them to discover something that they've never discovered before. But just do it every single day, ask them, and then do it. And then talk to God about what that was like and what did it mean for you and how might it change who you are and how you are. I noticed some typos that I
Yeah,
didn't
sorry
come
about
off very
that.
well. That's my fault
That
as
would have
well.
been my job.
Yeah, I noticed two of them actually. So anyway, but that's a real simple thing, right? Extremely simple. Just somebody that you have a relationship with, and golly, if it's not somebody you can see every day, then just somebody you can see on a regular and consistent basis. But the basic point is to try to identify, how can I become more of a servant every single day, just by the things that I do. Now,
And I
number
think it is important to ask, but I think it can also be important to just take the initiative, because most of the time, if you ask somebody, what can I do for you? The answer is, oh, I'm fine. Nothing.
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm good.
yeah,
And so maybe we have to take the initiative and just do things. Don't ask what I can do for you. Just hand me, if you want to serve me, just hand me a cup of coffee.
yeah, yeah. Well, and so I won't belabor this point, but that identifies kind of the spiritual practice of secrecy as well. And I know that sounds really weird that there's this spiritual practice of secrecy, but that practice is often aligned with servanthood, because it's just, you go do stuff, you go serve people, you go help people, you go do things for people, and you never talk about it, you never share it with anybody, you just do it. And that would be what you're describing. And that would be a cool thing, because it is one of my practices to just do what you just suggested. Periodically, I don't do it every day, but periodically, golly, just go serve somebody. Absolutely. Number three is a little more challenging on a couple of levels. So basically, you're going to, on a piece of paper, just create three columns, and you'll say one column's for me, one column is for others, and another column is for God. And then and you just label that. And then you kind of review over the last week, or maybe the last month, if you're willing to go that far, and jot down in each column the things you have bought or done for yourself, for others, and for God. And then it kind of goes about asking, so what does that reveal? What does that inventory reveal about your life? And then take time to read Luke chapter 23, which is Jesus on the cross and giving himself in service to the world, and talk through what does that mean for me, and how does that have impact on my life? So you can imagine that if you kind of create these columns, and even though it's about sort of buying things and or how I spend my time, it's about how I'm giving myself to others. It's about how I'm living into a life of otherness for other people.
Yeah, I have a feeling if I did this exercise, I would be embarrassed at how many things fall under the for me column.
I think we all would, right? My hunch is there wouldn't be a one of us who, well, I don't know about embarrassed, but certainly might feel awkward or weird or whatever. And then I love the last little phrase there. Listen to your longings and God's promptings about what that means, whether that's the embarrassment or whether that's the awkwardness or whether that's, oh my gosh, I had no idea. What does that look like? And so this is a little different than what we might normally think of when we think of service, right? And so some of the others, as you scroll down, you'll see are more what I call typical. I mean, number 2 was about make a commitment to an annual practice of being in a mission or a relief project. Number 4 is about unpacking the parable of the Good Samaritan. I love number 5, and number 5 might actually be kind of easy. Offer to set up and take down on any kind of large scale event, right? Because nobody ever wants to do that. Everybody at a large event wants to either, help with the food or help decorate or whatever. This is just, man, help with setting up chairs or help with cleaning it up, right? And so that's a real easy task as well. But service as a spiritual practice is designed to get us, whoever we are, outside of ourselves, to get our focus outside of who we are. And it's a powerful practice that the early church used as a way to gain goodwill from everybody and as a way to serve everybody. So I just want to encourage us to consider that spiritual practice.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, you can access this list of ways to practice your servanthood at tmumc.org/practice serving. I included the link in the comments of the Facebook post. So hopefully you can click into that and read through some of these things and see what you want to try this week. I think I'm definitely going to try number one, because it just feels like the simplest way to get started is asking somebody that you love and care about, what can I do for you today? So I hope
and
that
anybody
you'll,
can do it, right? I mean,
yeah,
anybody can do that.
yeah, and usually it's going to be something small, but something so meaningful to that person that you even thought of them.
Absolutely. I just want to challenge us to consider that, and again, remind us, if you haven't already, Alyssa, to put the URL about summer missions again there, because those will be ongoing throughout the summer, and those are great opportunities. I know for some of us, sometimes we feel as though, golly, I can't go to that organization, or I don't have the time to commit to this. That's why I think numbers 1 and 3 on that list are so helpful, because anybody can do them anytime. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy anything necessarily. And so it works out really easily. But I would encourage us to go to summer missions out on the website.
Yes, and I have included that link in the comments as well. It is tmumc.org/summer missions. And just for those of you who are a little bit nervous about contact or no contact, there are plenty of opportunities for no contact service. We're going to be doing a food drive coming up in the next few weeks. So we are looking at ways for you to serve in the world that we're in today, just because COVID does not stop the needs in our community. And we understand that, and we want to support you through that and enable you and empower you to serve. So I hope that you'll go to our website and check that out. And if you know of other things going on in the community, let us know. We want to know what's happening and how other people are serving. We love hearing those stories.
Absolutely. Every one of us can serve, and every one of us, I'm convinced, needs to serve, because not only because it helps the world, but it helps our soul. So I would encourage you to find ways to serve every day if possible.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thanks for joining us today. As a reminder, you can check out all previous episodes of Go Beyond at tmumc.org/go beyond. And I want to invite you to worship with us on Sunday. This Sunday is going to be a little bit different, because for the first time, we are doing a re-entry into the church, and we are having a 30-minute worship service in person at 9 a.m. on the field of the FLC. That's right off Dixon, in between Marcus High School and our Family Life Center building. And please wear your mask, be respectful. We want to protect each other. But I'm really excited to get to see everybody in person. And we will also continue to live stream the 9:30 a.m. contemporary and the 11 a.m. traditional through our streaming services. But hopefully we'll get to see you on Sunday morning. And you can learn about everything happening with our re-entry and our protocols and what we're putting together at tmumc.org/health.
If you want to not only bring your mask, I want to encourage you to bring a chair or a blanket, because there won't be seating out there. So be sure to bring something for you to sit on, whatever that is.
All right. Everybody have a great weekend.